talk about the signs of reappearance of Imam Mahdi.
Geographical.
Yeah, and the locations. Yeah. All right, Sayyid, assalamu alaikum. Do you hear us? Inshallah? Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yes. Okay. So, alhamdulillah, we have Sayyid Sajjad Kadhimi with us, and he's given us the opportunity to talk about the signs of Imam Mahdi, Azza wa Ta'ala Faraja, his reappearance, especially the more, I think, definite signs, and then some of the geographic locations associated with that, especially in this time with the recent events that have been happening recently. To start, inshallah, صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وبارئ الخلائق أجمعين وباعث الأنبياء والمرسلين ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب الله العالمين بالقاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى آل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين وهداة المهديين ولعن الدائم على أعدائهم أجمعين من الأعلان إلى قيام الدين. أما بعد قال إمام علي عليه السلام العجب كل العجب بين الجمادية والرجب. Alhamdulillah, it's a great opportunity for me to discuss very core issue of the signs of the reappearance of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. It's a very hot issue throughout the history for our Shias. Okay, so before I just explain the signs and different kinds of signs, it's necessary to have some premises, you can say, or some introductory notes before the topic. Okay, if we look the religions, if we have a atomic view about the religion, it will create some problems. Okay, so we need to look or discuss or understand the religion in a very systematic, or you can say, or in a very organized or structural way. Okay, so that's why we need a systematic approach towards the understanding of religions. Okay. So when we look over the different narrations or hadiths regarding the reappearance of Imam Mahdi, Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajul Sharif, so we can easily divide these signs of reappearance of Imam Zamana into different categories. Okay, so I categorize these signs into three categories. One is the natural signs of his reappearance, and other is the signs relevant to some currents, you can say. Current means just like a political or some groups, in form of some groups. Okay, and the third one is this signs of regarding the personalities, a very important personalities that will raise at the time of the reappearance. Okay, so when we look over the different hadiths regarding the reappearance of Imam Zaman, we have these three kind of signs. Okay, one is the natural signs. What are the natural signs? Natural signs are those signs, okay, which we will have at the time of the reappearance of Imam Zaman. Okay, for example, right now we have some political scenarios in Middle East. Okay, So we have a fall of Syrian governments. A lot of in a lot of groups we have discussions uh, about these signs. Okay, but it's need to understand these signs in a very systematic way. Otherwise, with every political event, you might be confused regarding these signs or regarding the concept of Imam Zamana. Okay, and his, especially his reappearance. Okay, so that's why we try to look these signs, look over the issues in a very, you can say, systematic way. That is, I'm repeating again and again. Okay, so the first of all, as I mentioned in the earlier, we have a hadith from Imam Ali alayhi salam. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, Al Ajab, Kullul Ajab. Okay, Bainul Jamadi war Rajab. This is one of the famous narrations from Imam Ali alayhi salam, and we have in our religious sources. Imam says, okay, the greatest wonders between we have between the Jamadi and Rajab mean Jamadi Sani and the month of Rajab. These are the Islamic month according to the Islamic calendar. Okay, Imam Ali, Imam Ali said that from the end of the Jamadi Sani and the first 10 in the year of emergence or reappearance of Imam Zamanas, salam, we have one of the very, very, you can say, definite sign of his reappearance is the heavy rainfall. Heavy rain will fall in this area, especially in the Middle East, because all my discussion is relevant to those geographical areas where Imam will reappear and he will have his world government and he will rule over there. So that's where these areas are very important. Okay, so I will discuss, inshallah, whose countries. Right now we have some countries of these geographical area. Commonly it's known as Middle East. Okay, so so in Middle East we have a few signs. Okay, some signs of reappearance of Imam Zaman that will occur before his emergence, some signs during the emergence, and some signs we have after his emergence.
So, Sayyid,
when will,
if I may just say something, sorry, Sayyid. So we're in sorry, not Dhul, we are in Jamadi Thani right now. Our month right now is the middle of Jamadi Thani. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And Rajab is next. Is that correct? Rajab is coming up next. So
yes.
And there have been reports of heavy rains, and this was blamed on like I think like weather balloons or like experimentation. But there were some really heavy rains which actually caused flooding actually in I think in the Emirates as well as in I want to say I think the west coast of Saudi Arabia. So maybe we are seeing some of those things.
I got your question. Actually, when we explain those signs, it will give you a clear pictures. Okay, what will happen even, because we have hadith from a lot of imams, from Imam Bakr al-Islam, from Imam Jafar Sadiq, from Imam Rada al-Islam, from Imam Ali. So when we have a structural view and structural approach, a principal approach towards the understanding of these hadiths, we will get a very clear picture. For example, you said that we right now we are in Jamadi Sun. Okay, so we have one of the clear signs of this heavy rain. Okay, so the narration states that this astonishing rain will causes flesh or meat body to grow on the bones of the dead in the graves, because we have a lot of watershed. Okay, so graves of those who wish to return and making them ready for the resurrections. So that is the concept of Rijat. Yeah. Okay. When the water of these rains, okay, touch the bones of the dead persons, okay, with the blessing of Almighty Allah, they will become uh, the living men. Okay, and it will happen for the both, for the believers and for the disbelievers. Okay, so if you have a rain like this, okay, you can easily judge. Oh yeah, this specific Jamadi Usani and Rajab rains are the rains are before the times of Imam's reappearance. Okay, so it's not a common, you can say, a rain. It's a special rain. Okay, so which is very correlated with the process of Rijat. Okay, so that's why I'm saying it's one of the natural signs. And other natural signs, because these natural signs comes in a very proper sequences. Okay, so you can judge uh, other signs and you can correlate them. Okay, because I'm a try their best to explain these signs in their hadith for our Shias. So we being the Shias of Ahlul Bayt at the end time, so we can easily understand the time of the appearance of Imam Zaman alayhi salam. So that's why I'm explaining all these signs and all these instructions for us at that time. Okay, so we should keep this thing in our mind as well.
Okay. Give me 1 second. I just want to make sure you guys have any comments or any questions at all. It is an open discussion, so it's not just a lecture.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
have a question.
Yes.
Okay.
You said so these rains are these so these will precede the appearance of the Hajjah, Hajj al-Farajah?
Okay. Sorry, I couldn't get your voice was broken.
Well, so
Yeah.
the rains you're talking about are they're going to precede the appearance of the Hajjah?
Yeah. So, well, actually, when Imam will reappear, okay, the 15 months are very important. Okay, because we will discuss other signs. For example, we have a Khuruj Sufyani, okay, the Sufyani movements, okay, that will raise at that time, and they take the governments of at Shamat, the 5 country regions. Okay, so we will discuss this point there. Okay, so so another natural sign is the destruction of the right side of the Umayyad mosque in Damascus. Okay, it's mentioned in our narrations. Okay, if you enter from the door side of the mosque, main entrance to the mosque, so this destruction of the wall will happen from the right side of the Umayyad mosque. So it's very, I mean, clear. It will happen, inshallah.
And when we say natural, you refer to as like a falling down or an earthquake or weakness that caused.
Yeah. I'm coming to it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's not like it was attacked or it was like bombed or something. It sounds like either an earthquake or a sinkhole or something like that.
Because I said it's a natural destruction, natural signs. We are talking about the natural signs. Okay. And other natural sign is the death. We have 2 types of death: red death and white death. Okay, red death is so common. We have a red death scenario when the Daesh came in the region. Okay, they killing of a lot of people. Okay, so when before the Zahur Imam Zamana, the killing of the peoples. Okay, yeah, so you can say the massacres. Okay, the massacre in a large scale. It's show the red death in the narration.
It's referring to like blood, like red, as in like people getting killed and blood being shed.
Yeah, it's the sign. Okay. Another is a white death. why death is just like the death, yeah, killing of the people through the diseases at the end time.
So,
For example,
natural death.
yeah, unfortunately, we have the few years ago, we have a corona,
Yes.
okay, pandemic. So such kind of, things will happen at that time, and the people in the world will suffer through these deaths. Okay, red death and white death. This is another natural science. Okay, so when these signs will appear, you should and we should uh, more conscious about the reappearance of Imam Zamana. Okay, regarding only the natural sign and other signs, for example, other signs is the current signs. What is the current signs? These signs relevant to some political groups. They will raise with the specific flags, with the specific titles, and they have some slogans. Okay, so we understand that now is the time. Now we have a time near to the reappearance of our Imam. So that's why in some hadiths, all ulama, the scholars mention those hadiths are thus hadith mubashirat. Okay, the hadiths which give you the good news. Some says, Sayyid, you are talking about the good news of the hadith, but we have a killing in these time periods. Okay, what's that? Okay, although is the being a Shia or being the other Muslims, we have a hard period of time. Okay, but it's a very short, limited time. The time span, if you look over the time period of that, it's only consists on 15 months. Okay, in 15 months, we have a we discuss in our other science. For example, in current science, the one of the main currents that we will have at that time is the Sufyani currents. Okay, Sufyani current is one of the very definite signs before the reappearance of Imam alayhi salam. So a person with the name Usman ibn Ambasi, okay, he will raise. He's one of the descendant of Abu Sufyan. Okay, so and he raised the slogans after Banu Umayyah's government. Okay, he tried to revive the ideology and at that moment. So one of the you can say famous signs in the narrations we have is the Quran signs. In Quran sign, the Sufyani Quran is a very important in this regard.
Brother, you
Okay.
mentioned something about 15 months multiple times. What do you mean by 15 months? You've mentioned it twice so far.
Yeah,
What does that
15 months.
reference to?
15 months means Sufyani is okay. For example, Usman ibn Ambasi, he will rule over the Shamat, especially Shamat. Okay. First of all, I will tell you the 13 important geographical areas where uh, relevant to the reappearance of Imam alayhi salam. Okay, and we being a Shia are very focused, should be very focused and should be updated regarding the news coming from these area. One is Iraq. Okay, okay, right now because we have a country, but at the time of the narration we don't have. We have the areas. We had a big government at that time, so that's why in some areas or that we have a countries nowadays, we have a positive and negative both uh, movements from that area. Some countries have only positive, you can say, role. Okay, the first country is Iraq. Okay, Iraq, the Iraqis, they are the mostly the supporter of Imam alayhi salam. Okay, and we have a very few negative personality at the time of Imam emergence. Okay, so mostly the Iraqis they will have a positive role. And other is the Yemen. Yemen is also mostly it has a positive role. We have a Khuruj Yemeni from that area. Okay, next is Iran. Iran also has a positive role, mostly the positive role, a very, you can say a few negative role. In Iran, we have the crowns of the ulama Qum, you can say, and in Iraq, ulama Najaf. Okay, because we will discuss in the third science when we have a personality science. One of the personalities' name is Shahsabani. When he will raise, and unfortunately, he will kill the 17 marjas in the Najaf before the reappearance of Imam Zaman. So this sacred bloodshed on the earth is very hard. Okay, so but in Iran, according to the hadith of Imam Sadiq al-Islam, we have a Rajul Kumi, and this Rajul Kumi, okay, from the Kum, we have hadith, okay, the light of the knowledge comes from, okay, will raise from the comb and it will just spread throughout the world. And some scholars says that Rajul Kumi might be just a personality like Imam Khomeini. Okay, so they have a view. So Rajul Kumi means the whole comb, the comb crunch, you can say, the ideology, the Shia ideology that are coming from the comb is also a part relevant to the Iran. Next is Hijaz. Okay, in Hijaz, we will discuss what will happen between the Makkah and Medina. After that, we have a Shamat is the next very important area, but it has a mostly negative role. Shamat is a big area which presently included the 5 areas: Damascus, the current Syria, the Homs, okay, the Palestine, the Jordan, and the Kinnisreen. Kinnisreen is near the 40 kilometer from Aleppo today. Okay, so and other area is Samarkand. Okay, before going to the Samarkand and the eastern part of the world, I will explain it inshallah later. We have another important area is Azerbaijan. Okay, because some peoples will join the Sufyani movements from the Azerbaijan. Also, we have Armenia. Okay, and we have Turkey. Okay, so Turkey is also we have Markatul Turk, we says the people maybe under the slogans of some different slogan like Ikhwani, but at the end they will join the Sufyani front and they just will create challenges for Imam al-Islam. Okay, so next is Egypt. So some countries mostly they have a negative roles. Okay, not all the people, but the troops that will raise from that area will join the Sufyani movement. So that's why we say positive or negative. And other part is the Khorasan. Okay, Khorasan. Okay, so when we look over the time of the Sudur Hadith, when the narrations was discussed, okay, what was narrated by the Imams. Okay, so what Imams means from Khorasan. Okay, so Khorasan means not only the present Mashhad. Okay, Khorasan, if you know about the old Khorasan, it will cover the Samarkand today. Even we have some migrated Sadat from the Xinjiang chain. Okay, so the people from the good scholars or the personality from the Samarkand, they will join the Imam al-Islam and his they will join the army of Imam al-Islam from the Samarkand. The same is the Sinkian. Sinkian, we have a Sadat, migrated Sadat there. So they will also join the army of Imam al-Islam. And if we expand this Khorasan, and the last, the second last region will come the Pakistan. Presently, we have a Multan there, a very old city, Multan. Okay, the Shia from the Multan, they will join. They will come in the Iceland, Kish Iceland in Iran, and they will have a very, you can say, big fight, and at least they will join the army of Imam al-Islam. Okay, so the people from Multan, they also have a positive role. Positive role means they only join the Imam's army and favor Imam and will fight against the Imam enemies like Sufyanis. Okay, and the last is very important region is the Rum. Okay, so Rum means including Europe today. Okay, like current countries, we have a Western civilization there. Okay, so we have a Ma'arakatul Rum as well. Okay, so no, you guys from the US, from the West, or from the Europe. Okay, in our hadith, the people raised against their government due to the some inequalities or some political, okay, for the sake of political freedoms, people people will raise against their governments, and when they raise against their government, okay, so this room civilizations, actually they will help the Sufyanis. They will stood against, help the Sufyanis. They will stood against the Imam al-Islam. But their peoples will, their people will, yeah, okay. So it will happen. So we have these 13 areas. So the news coming from these areas are very important from right now. Okay, one. And other is we have to invest in these areas. For example, I talk about the Hijaz. In Hijaz, we have a Sadat and the killing of a personality like Nafs Zakiya that will happen in Hijaz. We have a Sadat in Hijaz. So Imam Ali says,
give me 1 second, because unfortunately the Zoom meeting is going to end, so I'm going to restart the Zoom meeting. But when I restart it,
Okay.
if you don't mind, we did have a question. One of the questions was the significance of the 15 months, and then number 2 is what about Dajjal? And if you don't mind answering those, let me just restart the Zoom, and then I'll send you the link again, and join again, inshallah, and then we can answer those questions if you don't mind. And then we'll continue. Just give me a second, okay?
okay. You will send me another link.
Yes, I will, inshallah. Give me 1 second. It's unfortunate.
The only thing I know about the 15 months is that one of the sayings is that between Bahur Sufyani and Bahur Hujjah is 15 months.
Oh, that's what he's trying to say. Okay.
I think that's what he's meant to.
Do all these things happen within those 15 months? Like the rain and all those natural disasters?
I gotta focus on doing this.
I know what was stated was that after one of the first things that will happen is the horse Sufyan.
Yeah,
And then everything else happens in very, all the other
Quick
signs happen
succession.
very quick. Yeah, quick succession. You have the horse Sufyan, and then you have killings and so on. You have the horde Yamani, the horde Khorasani, a figure from Samarkand, which is in Uzbekistan, I think is where it is today.
Yeah.
I'd like to know the specifics about the other 2 areas, the Sinchin and then the other one, which he mentioned afterwards. Yeah, the one in Pakistan. Yeah,
There's some confusing things about Khorasan, because you find that.
Yeah.
I think you implied that Central Asia was all Khorasan.
Yeah, so
I know Khorasan is just Iran.
No, no, I think he's more geographic. It's much more geographic than that. Yeah.
Iran is like
It's the area between Iran
the
and
area between Iran and Afghanistan.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of different countries there, I guess. That's what you're trying to
And Central Asia, yeah.
You're right.
say. And
I just want to know if because he mentioned that Sufyan ruled 5 main areas of Syria: Damascus, Homs, an area that defines Halabja and Palestine, and I think the origin as well.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever mentioned Lebanon.
Lebanon, yeah. I was gonna ask that.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna
when he
ask
said
that as
Palestine,
well.
he includes the occupied Palestine to the whole thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, which begs the question as well. Does that mean Israel will continue to exist in this time during Sufyani? Will it be like an alliance between them, or will it, or does it mean Sufyani takes over?
I thought that where's the Dajjal in all this?
The Dajjal appears, I think, after Sufyani.
I'm pretty sure it's much. I don't know. Is it?
As far as
So the Dajjal is supposed to come.
Then,
I think it's contemporaneous with Imam Mahdi.
oh, so the end of the 15 months.
Yes, yeah. And Imam Mahdi specifically. Thank you for your patience. Sayyid. Thank you.
Okay. So what was the first question? You asked 15 months. What 15 months is very important?
Yes. So the reference to 15 months. What exactly is the 15 months that you're referring to? I think that was the question.
Yeah. Okay. Regarding the references, okay, I will send all the references after the meeting in the group.
What are you referring to? When you say 15 months, what are you referring to? That's the question that is being asked. What is being referred to in the 15 months? Like what exactly?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I said these 15 months are very important, and regarding the government of the Sufyani, okay, when the Sufyani will defeat all the currents in the Shamat. So one of the big sign is he will get whole the areas of these 5 countries like Palestine, Jordan, and the Syria's presently. Okay, so he will make a big commerce in these areas. So Imam says this government will last only for 9 months. Okay, that's the time period of pregnancy, because in the narration and hadith we have zaman hamlul imra. Okay, so 9 months they will have a government, Sufyani government. Okay, so 6 months before the government, we have very first and severe fighting for, okay, the Sufyani at end will take the government over, okay, defeat his opponent. But when Imam will comes with his companion, and we have the Khuruj Khurasani, okay, peoples of the Khurasan with the black flag, they will come in the area and they will defeat Usman ibn Ambassa and his movement. Okay, so that's why in our tradition and in our hadith, the Ima says you should be careful about these 15 minutes, 15 months. Okay,
So you're referring
9 months.
So you're saying 9 months of the rule of Sufyani, 6 months of the fights that will be against him that follow.
Preceded. That's right.
Yeah.
No, that's what you're saying.
Before taking the government,
No, preceded.
before taking the government,
He will fight for
because
6 months.
when a government established, sometimes you need to, you need to take a land. It will take a time.
So you're saying
okay?
6 months of Sufyani establishing himself, and then 9 months of his rule is what you're saying.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
those are the 15 months of suffering for the Muslims.
No. Only 9 months suffering. Okay, so that's why ulama says, you consider these hadiths as a mubashirat, because the 9 month period are not too much,
Alhamdulillah.
because we have a very yeah,
Alhamdulillah.
we have a bad rulers, and we will and this is we will discuss after the we have some signs after the reappearance of Imam al-Islam, because Imam is a rahmat. Okay, so one of the blessing of the Imam is that the blessing, the barakat in the time will raise at that time. Sometimes we have a day, okay, we do nothing and we say that, yeah, today was too much boring and we don't have any barakah in that day. Okay, sometimes your day is very blessed and very full of barakah. So that's why when Imam will reappear, okay, so with the blessing of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have three types of expansion, you can say. Okay, one is when Imam, we will discuss in our last part of the discussion. Okay, so right now, what was the other question?
Yes, another question was it was about Dajjal.
You asked about Lebanon. Where does Lebanon?
There's actually several questions, and I appreciate you accepting the discussion form of this setting. One of the questions was, where is Lebanon in all of this? What happens to the like the area of Beirut and
Yeah.
Tripoli, Nablus, all that.
Okay, I got. Okay, I got. Yeah, it's a very good question. Okay, because we have a very good Shias from Lebanon. Okay, when ulama explain these hadiths regarding the Shamat and the Khuruj Sufyani, and they will take the whole regions. Okay, but in that regions, ulama says we have a few exceptions, and Lebanon is one of those exceptions, because the Shia from the Lebanon, they will resist, okay, and Sufyani won't defeat them. So Alhamdulillah, when it was asked from the Imams what will happen regarding the Shia at that time, Imam said that one, the time span is so short, you don't worry about it, and other in these areas we will have some stronghold of our Shia. So Sufyani can't do, you can say. Okay, so they will resist, but inshallah the the Khorasanis and the others from others areas of the world, okay, the Shia will help them.
Another question was,
Especially the Lebanon will resist.
inshallah. Another question was, when we refer to Khurasani, the traditional meaning, at least that we've heard of, is basically just like you said, Mashhad, and really referring to Iran. But you actually included more than just Iran in the name of Khurasani. So can you go more into the other areas of Khurasan that you're referring to?
Okay, yeah, I got it. Okay, when we have a Sudure Ayat and Sudure, you can say Ahadith, we have three things. One is Tanzil. Tanzils are those instances or those masadi which we have at the time of Nuzul, at the time of revelation of that hadith or ayah. Okay, if we look at the tanzil of this narrations, it means the misdaq at that time of the Khurasan, which also covers till the Pakistan of the today and till the Samarkand and those areas. Only only we included Sinkion because the Sadat migrated from these Khorasan Buzurg to the present Sinkion today. So we have a Muslim, we have a Shia there, and we have a
Sayyid,
Sadat.
what are you referring to when you say Stingyan? Some of us are not familiar with this. Is Sinjar? Is that what you're referring to, or?
No, regarding. Okay. If you ask, for example, Maulana, is there any references regarding the names of these religious regions in the Hadith? No, because I said Khurasan is in the hadith.
No, no,
But when you look,
yeah,
yeah, I'm coming
sorry,
at that point. Okay, when you look, for example, the old maps of Khorasan, okay, so that's why I said that the Tanzil. What is the Tanzil? Tan- Tanzil means the instances at that time. And other is the Tawil. Tawil is the Masadiq of the present time. Okay. So Mutashabi is another thing. Okay. So when we usually discuss the ayat, so we have to know about the Tanzil, the mistake at that time, and Tawil are those mistakes which I must discuss, okay, which also uh, covers the issues after that time of hadith, okay, Suduri hadith. Okay, so when I say Sinkian, it will just join the Khurasan episode. Okay,
is it a tribe or is it a people or is it a place? Like, because I mean, at least personally, I'm not familiar with that phrase.
yeah, it's a place. It's a place in the China
Oh,
that
okay. Oh, wow.
yeah, in, yeah, it's
Oh,
in China
okay.
because yeah, because we have a Mahdi, the researchers regarding the Mahdaviyat, okay, research over the old maps of Khorasan and
That's interesting.
okay,
Yeah,
understand
that's something that
and put these hadiths along with this, okay, then they concluded that yeah, we have some signs of the migrations of Sadat in this area, so that Sadat or that Shias will join at that time. So that's why this region is very important.
interesting.
Okay.
Say, you know, because I know we may only have you for maybe 10 or 15 more minutes, unless you're willing to stay more. But one of the other questions
Okay.
was the Dajjal. I think I know we would be skipping forward, but where's the Dajjal in all of this? That was one of the questions. Where is is he?
What is that? What is that, John?
The Dajjal. Where is the Dajjal in all of this?
A fabrication in hadith.
No, no, no. The Dajjal, Masih al-Dajjal, Dajjal.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. As you know, that we have some hadith sources, okay, Shii sources, along with like Ghaiba Numani, Ghaiba Tusi, Kamaluddin wa Tamamun Nema, and other sources, okay? Like these sources, we have hadith from regarding the end of times from our Ahlul Sunnah, from our Sunnah brothers. Okay, so mostly these terms Dajjal uses by our Sunni brothers. Okay, okay. Some scholars say that Dajjal is just like a Sufyani. Okay, some say that it's the same Sufyani. But in our, why this is Dajjal? Because they believe in the Khilafah of Banu Umayyah. So that's why they say that they mention Dajjal instead of Sufyani, because Sufyan, when this is, if you say Sufyani, it will, and this current will raise against the Imam, then it's a negative current. So that's why they meant
One of the questions
these
is that
words.
doesn't Dajjal go against Isa alayhi salam, and Isa, exposes Dajjal and
Okay. Okay. Regarding Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, okay, the right question is actually you need to tanki sawal, because we have hadith, okay, husnu sawal is nisfu jawab. Okay.
yes. What is the right question?
Okay. Okay, the right question is that what is the role of big Christianity and the very powerful Jews at that time? That is the main question. So I told we have a Markato room. Okay, the Western people will stood against their country. Okay, so what about the majority of the world population, like Christianity and
Brother,
Jew?
are you trying
Okay,
to say
so the
that
answer is
the
that
Jews
Yeah,
And the Dajjal
yeah.
is a Sunni specific narrations, and the Shia don't have any narrations about the return of the
No,
Messiah.
no, no. Maybe okay. Maybe in our, because sometime in our hadith sources we have a hadith from their sources, okay? Because we have a different kind of sources, mutaqaddimin, mutaakhirin. So that's why maybe this terminology comes in our hadithi sources as well. Because you have to know that the hadith sometimes, most of the hadith is the imla'i ulama. And imla'i ulama, okay? For example, we have a ziyarat name of Ahlul Bayt.
Brother,
Okay, we have a
from what
very
I understand
few
about
ziyarat
Isa
name.
alayhi
That is the
salam,
exact
that's in the
word of
Quran.
Imam. Okay,
The Quran
M-
mentions
okay.
Rafa' Isa. It's not, I'm not, you know. So
Yeah,
does
I'm coming
that
towards that point. Okay,
that's not a
because
hadith.
in the battle, yeah, in the Batul Muqaddas, you mean the Masjid al-Aqsa. Hazrat Isa will come and he.
No, I'm not specifically talking. That's a hadith. I'm talking about, yeah, in the Quran, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala talks about Isa being raised, and
Yeah,
it's understood that he will return at the end of time. Is that? Are you saying that there
no, no,
are?
no. I know you know this, but I'm coming about. I'm coming to the other point. When Hazrat Isa, okay, will come and he will mm, call the azan, and when the Christians uh, will see, for example, oh, our prophet or yes, Jesus is joining the Imam Mahdi, the most of the Christian also they will at the end of the time they will join and they will come in this camp. Okay, and what about the Jews? What about the Jews? In Jews we have a two personality. One is the Hazrat Habakkuk, Haikuk ya Habakkuk, because we have some Ibrani in Ibrani scripts we have, and in some Islamic script. Hazrat Habakkuk, he is one of the in charge of Ma'bad Sulaiman. Okay, he is very respectful in Jews. So Hazrat Daniel alayhi salam, one of the great prophet. So all these two prophets, okay, when they will join and they will have a good propagation in favor of Imam Zamana. So with the help of them, with the help of Hazrat Daniel and Hazrat Habakkuk, the Jews will join the army of yeah, will join the Imam Zaman alayhi salam. Will believe, you can say will believe in Imam alayhi salam. Okay, with the with the with the help of Hazrat Isa, the majority of Christianity will believe, and with the help of Hazrat Daniel and Hazrat Habakkuk, inshallah, the Jews will believe in the Imam Zaman alayhi salam.
It's
Okay,
interesting.
and the
So,
last,
Daniel alayhi
yeah.
salam never actually died. You know, he actually also is raised up
So
or is
yeah,
heaven.
yeah,
It's interesting.
because we have a region of, I said we have a region of the Mu'mineen Mahaz and the Kafireen Mahaz. Kafireen Mahaz, we mean, for example, the very strong disbelievers. Okay, like Muawiyah and Abu Sufyan, God will raise them, and
Oh, okay.
and we have yeah, we have these uh, when they will raise and they will see that, oh, the son of Fatima, like Imam Mahdi, will have a very great government. Okay, because we have a hadith from Imam Sadiq al-Islam's. If you look these hadiths under the verse 1 of Surah Muhammad, وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا وَسَدُّوا, Imam Sadiq says, we are the two families. One is Bani Hashim and another is Bani Umayyah. Okay, the Bani Umayyah, they just in a hadith takzib khuda. Okay, they, they just disbelieve in Almighty Allah, and we do the tasbih of Quran. We believe in Allah and His message. Okay, so Imam says that we have a Abu Sufyan in them and the Holy Prophet in us. We have a Muawiyah in them and we have a Imam Ali in our side. Okay, so we have a Yazid in them and we have a Imam Hussein. Okay, and we have a Sufyani in them and we will have a Mahdi in our side. Okay, so that is very detailed hadith in this hadith Imam Sadiq. Okay, discuss these truths. Okay, because right now the Jolani, and also maybe you saw I heard the tweet of the daughter of Erdogan regarding the government of Banu Umayya, and he tweeted. Okay, so unfortunately, some of the Sunnis under the title of Ikhwani might be they will join the Sufyanis. Okay, right now you look at over the Turkey as same situation. So okay, come to the last part of our discussion. Okay, that we discuss it. We discuss the natural science. We just discuss the current science. Okay, and we have some other currents like Abbasid family, Khanedan Abbas. You can say that this referred to the rulers of the Arab countries right now. They will create the challenges in their geographical areas of the emergence of Imam Zaman al-Islam. Another is Marakatul Rum. I discussed the people in Europe create cause and protest against the Western policies. Okay, various social groups, including influential students, join these protests. Then we have a Sufyani grants. I discuss it in details. Okay, Sufyani is the title, but the name is Usman ibn Ambasa. Okay, sometimes in our hadith, sometimes the Ravi, the Shias ask from the Imam, please tell us some of the signs of that Sufyani. Okay, in few hadith, our Imam told those signs, but Imam Bakr says, don't be very careful about these physical signs, personality signs of Sufyani, about his shape and face. Okay, when he will take these the Shamat areas and will raise the slogans of Banu Umayyah, you will find it. Okay, so so we have Sufyani Quran, as I mentioned. Okay, then we have a Yamani Quran. Then we have
we
a
have another question, Sayyid.
I don't want to hold him up though. Let him finish
Yeah.
before he ends.
Okay.
And
Okay, sorry. Continue, and then he'll ask the question. I apologize. Sorry. You said Yamani. Continue, and he's going to ask his question.
Yeah, Yamani. Then we have a Marakatul Turk. Okay, Turkish Quran. Then we have a Quran of the seminaries from the Qum and Najaf. Okay, Rajul Qumi we have in Hadith Greater Khurasan. And other Quran is the Abdal, Akhyar and Nojaba. Yeah, these are the 313 well-known individuals. Okay, and the special companion of Imam al-Islam. Okay, they are currently active. Their activities, because their activities are not published. Okay, they are right now currently training the individuals. Okay, they have some important tasks. The one of the tasks is to protect the even the Shias. Okay, so they also to protect the general population through their we can say through some secret science, esoteric knowledge, and some mysteries of the divine names. What it means? It means they have some sword and over that, and they have Ismi Azam, okay? And with the help of this Ismi Azam, they will, uh, inshallah, save the Shias. And so, okay, so these are the main, you can say, the currents at the time of or before the emergence of Imam and Islam.
Yeah.
When we look, okay, uh, all these signs in a very organized or structured or collective way, then we have a clear pictures. Okay, so that's why it's important to discuss these signs in your discussions, and also you have to read different hadiths regarding these signs. It will give you the more clear picture. It's very important. Okay, because our Imam instructed us, you discuss these things, because when Imam will comes, Imam will rule over the world. So being a Shia, we have to know what is the planning of Imam, what is the project of Imam, as I earlier mentioned. When Imam will comes, Imam will rule over the, you can say, over the land, over the globe. So, so, so Imam, God will give some special powers to Imam. Okay, so when the after the emergence of Imam, we have some special natural signs. One is that one of the signs of Imam is that, for example, right now in presently we we have a most land of the present world is not, you can say, uh, uninhabitable. We don't have any cultivation in that land. But when Imam comes, uh, we have a decrease in deserts, and most of the part of the land is uh, uh, habitable, or we have a cultivation in that time. It will help to Imam to establish his strategy of migrations. What is the strategy of migration of Imam al-Islam? Because uh, we have a very crowded or polluted cities right now. But when Imam will comes, the people will migrate uh, in these areas where we have a right now we have a desert. Okay, so access to water resources. In present area, we have a very few water resources. For example, we have a sea water, but it's a salty. Okay, but when Imam will comes, okay, with the grace, with the blessing of Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, this sea water and all sea water, the others waters, salty waters came into the drinkable water. Okay, and their taste will change. So we have access to water resources, okay, access to more habitable land. And the third one is the expansion of time, because right now we have one day contains 24 hours, but an Imam will comes, it we have expansion of time more than today, even 10 times of today. We have a one day that will equal to 250 hours. So Imam can do a lot of things in these times. So being a Shia one, we have to know, yeah, the future order, the future world order belongs to Imam al-Islam. So what Imam will do? So we have to understand these things, okay? Because in Imam times we don't have a WHO and some of their stupid protocols regarding the hygiene and the health, okay? Like we sign Corona protocols, okay? So at that times, okay, with the help of this heavy rain, I discussed, okay, the diseases, mostly the diseases will raise from the world, okay. So Imam will have a very good opportunity to establish the justice throughout the globe. So at the end, I will say, being a Shia one, we have to prepare about it. We have to know the Imam's project and plans, and we have to do some effort regarding these things. Okay, firstly, we have to understand the Imam's emergence and Hadith, and at the end, we have to support the systems. Okay.
I have a question regarding how we are supposed to understand these eschatological ahadith. Are we supposed to take them um, literally? Are we supposed to um, see it as causation or correlation in regards to the appearance of the Imam? Imam, like, do these things have to happen for him to appear? And in regards to, I guess some of the that's my first question. I'll go to my second.
Okay. I discussed all these signs into the three categories. Okay. Yeah. All these things will happen. Okay. Because we have a few signs before the emergence. Some of the signs that will occur during the Imam emergence, and some of the signs we have after the reappearance of Imam alayhi salam. Okay, like this access to water resources, access access to more habitable land, expansion of time. So these are the signs that we have after the emergence of time. Okay, another point is that, brother, when you say the hadith is zaif, okay, the last point of my discussion, when you say the hadith is zaif, it doesn't mean the hadith is wrong. Okay, hadith is weak. It means in the some narrators in the chain of narrations, we have a doubt over these personalities. Okay, so what is the criteria? So you have to clear those doubts. Maybe you, being scholars, are unable to uh, clear those doubts, but other scholars, he might be find some clues. He will check the
So there's
hadith
ijtihad with some
from
of
the
what you
other
said,
sources.
correct?
Okay,
So there's
so
ijtihad in
that
regards to a lot of what you said and understood about the end times. So there's a lot of opinion and conclusions made about what happened, what's going to happen. Is that what you're saying?
so as a conclusion, I will say that presently we have to attach with our maraji and our ulama in Qum and Najaf. Okay, because we have a attestation from the Imam regarding them, Imam, because they are the Naibe Imams. Okay, so being a Shia one, we have to listen what what is the supreme leader is saying, what is Ayatollah Sistani is saying. Okay, because these are the you can say that the strong personalities in the time of Ghaiba. Okay, so our Imam says that, if especially in the Hadith of Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam, okay, so we have to strict with them. Okay, listen their instructions. Okay, and inshallah, under their movement, inshallah, we will join the uh, mm, companion or the army of Imam al Islam. Okay, so our main responsibility is to discuss these signs, discuss these hadiths in our family, and we have to tell to our kids and children and our wives and sisters and brothers about these signs, so the Shia will inshallah find a clear picture, will have a clear picture regarding the end time of Imam al-Islam. Okay, that is the core point. As a result, I will mention, because in our hadith, Imam said that we are talking and we are narrating these hadiths for you Shia people. So don't be confused at the end time, at the time of our son's emergence. Okay, so that's why our today's discussion, especially, inshallah, will help you, brothers. I know maybe you know better than me regarding this sign, but
No,
it will
I
just
think we learned a lot,
we
Sayyid. No,
repeated
no, I
we
think
repeated this point.
no. I'm saying
Okay,
no,
we
no.
repeated.
Sorry.
Oh, okay, okay. No, I know you are, mashallah.
I
Oh,
think we might have different opinions.
I know
No, no,
some
no.
That's good.
fazalat among you, brother Jafar, and I know others, brother, mashallah, you are very fazal. So, so our what is our responsibility? Our responsibility is we have to okay understand, and we have to discuss these hadiths in our families, and we have to update it regarding these geographical areas of Imam emergence. Okay, so the news coming from Iran, Iraq, and these Middle East are very important, and we have to prepare ourselves for that. That is the main responsibility as a common Shia. Okay.
So say it. Thank you so much
Sorry,
for all your
I
time. No, I know you said day because it is day with you, but it's night with us. But I appreciate you kind of waking up so early in your day to help us out and give us
yeah, yeah, yeah.
some knowledge and benefit us. It's really appreciated.
Exactly.
Thank you, Sayyid.
Okay. Okay, okay. Pardon me. Actually, my English is not very good.
No,
If
no, no.
I'm unable
We
to
understood.
explain
Alhamdulillah.
any point, so so very excuse, because these terms in Arabic, and we have a lot of explanation in Persians, and so sometimes it's very
No,
difficult
no.
to explain in
It was
another
wonderful.
languages. Okay.
I think the fact that there's questions means people understood. So when there's questions, it means people are actually
Yeah.
understanding what you're saying. So
Most
alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. So it's appreciated. Your time is very appreciated,
okay.
and your knowledge is appreciated. Thank you for that.
Okay. Most welcome. Inshallah, I will try. I will try to discuss another good topic next time. Not next Friday, but inshallah next time.
Inshallah,
But
let me know,
I
please,
will try my
so we
best
can prepare. Inshallah.
to join or connect with you people. Mashallah, God will give you His special sustenance. Alhamdulillah, you our players to have a discussion with you guys. Mashallah, you have a good Friday night discussions. Really is appreciable.
Thank you, Sayyid. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Keep us in your prayers, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, inshallah. التماس الدعاء. السلام عليكم. في أمان الله. التماس الدعاء.
All right.
Did they say Iran is from Jordan or Pakistan?
It was Iran.
Yeah, he lives in Pakistan.
He has he has his own perspective on things, and I would say that from my perspective, it's extreme. It's pretty cool. It has a lot of extremism from what I understand, especially when it comes to eschatology. It's a reflection of how you see and understand the most dramatic events of history, because that's what eschatology is. Like when Christians and Jews look at the end of the world, we're try to understand how history ends or history comes to an accumulation. And I would say that his perspective is one that I've actually never heard before.
Which parts do you think were extreme?
Uh, so extreme in regards to specifically the internal look at his perspective, right? And again, I've never heard this perspective before. So
This is actually pretty common, at least over there, I would say.
yeah, so
It's not the first time
this
I've
is new
heard
to
it.
me.
Yeah.
So again,
But can you
yeah, and so what I
explain what
think
you
is
meant?
extreme about
Yeah.
it is I guess again what I was trying to say is that eschatology is how we look at the end of things, right? And if you look at most world religions, it's an external battle between good and evil, right? And that's always what it comes down to. Even when we think of the Sufyani or the Mahdi, it's a coming down to good and evil. But Sufyani is an interesting character. But not mentioning the Dajjal, considering not mentioning Isa, focusing on certain people and positions and personalities that are for a specific position. These things are it's not becoming of I think objectivity.
I,
And in regards to Sufyani specifically and focusing on that, it focuses on the intra-Muslim issues rather than like the overall global end of history, good versus evil type of thing.
I think I'll add to this because I do like I agree that you didn't really speak about Dajjal. There wasn't really a distinction about Dajjal or even a focus and trying to give the impression that
It was very like what I
very
meant by
vague
Hulul
impression.
is like it's very Shia.
Right.
It's not very
But I
Muslim. It's not very centrist. It's very Shia.
right but the I think the main thing because if we look at this as a battle, if in the end it's going to be a battle between good and evil, the versus Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Muslimin versus the forces of Iblis, Dajjal, and so on. I think we must first look at the initial battle, which is the unity of Muslimin, right? That is
That's not the initial battle.
I think that
No, the initial battle is maybe like an internal one. And again, we're referencing it in terms of battles, right? I don't like that language. I actually think that kind of language is it takes you away from like the main point is like getting close to God and getting close to these imams. And so again, this whole like eschatological, blah blah blah, eschatological talk about the end times. It's he's mentioning it in these very partisan, subjective positions rather than taking it from a objective first principles position where yes we are supposed to understand the end of time in terms of how are we supposed to get close to the Imam, how are we supposed to do the right thing and be amongst the best people among him, and yeah.
I have to say that I think his book kind of, to an extent, I do agree that some of his views are relatively, I don't want to say extreme,
I'm not,
peculiar, I guess.
okay.
But I think it placed into context like very.
Why are you defending? That's all. What
I'm not defending him. I'm like
we're just having a discussion about it, and I was just giving my opinion about it. So, what's your opinion about the end of times? What's your opinion?
I mean, from what I have studied, and this is what I agree with, and it's what I see today, is I like there's going to be the definite appearance of these figures. You have Sufyani, Khorasani, and Imani. These are the main ones. Then there's other ones like a figure.
How does that impact your life?
Is this recorded?
Yeah, this is live stream.
Oh,
How
You still-
I kind of want to see what you
I just
want
want
to say.
just throw a
Yeah,
question.
go ahead.
You said that possibly God says that Jesus will return.
Yeah.
I could be completely wrong. Just many scholars that I've heard don't say that's definitive. It's not 100%.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
Enlighten me, because from what I
I
understand,
can't. I'm just telling you what I heard. That many scholars and it's not clear. It's not like 100%. It's that they come to the conclusion
What do you mean conclusion?
that God may say that He doesn't say exactly that Jesus will return.
So one of the things that we know about the end times is there's certain figures that came out of time, space, or came out of space, but they're still in time, where like Jesus was, he was taken up, Daniel, Mahdi. So, but these figures will die. They have to come back, and they will face death.
I'm just.
So Jesus will
I don't have the knowledge.
No, I'm telling you my knowledge.
What
I'm
I
giving you
heard.
my perspective and what I
Well, do you have
understand.
an exact?
Yes, I will tell you. Logically, so let's take it step by step, right? Every human must die, right?
I think so.
Yes. كل نفس ذائقة الموت, right? كل نفس ذائقة الموت. Isa will die. Has Isa died? In the Quran it says he hasn't died. ما قتلوه فشبه له. He didn't die. They didn't kill him, but it made it appear that he was killed. So from what we understand, Isa says that he hasn't died, so he will have to face death. And he mentioned Daniel. He mentioned there's other figures like this in religious history. And so
Can I just ask, this is Daniel, you guys keep referring to?
he's a Hebrew prophet.
To my knowledge, this is what I was taught, was that the prophet who will come to the Jews and the Israelites and so on will be Al-Khidr. Khidr, who is like he, you know Khidr?
Yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Are they the same person or?
no, different person, two different people.
So
Two
then,
different
so then
people.
there are two theories among the Shia that it is either Khidr or Daniel who will appear.
I guess that's what he's saying.
I'm not saying.
No, the
Oh,
say.
yeah,
You could be wrong.
Yeah, I completely disagree. Like,
I mean, you'll completely disagree. He's
I
biased.
disagree.
He
Okay,
has some bias.
I disagree with some of the perspectives, but I agree with most of the facts. Right, the Sufyani is going to come. There probably are hadith about these 15 months. The events will happen in Rajab. I think it's more of just the view that it's in. The reason because he's talking from a specific perspective and a specific worldview, and it's coming off.
I don't have enough knowledge, but I definitely agree with you on that. I don't like when it's really.
Yeah, he's coming from a very specific perspective. That's why I was saying it's very.
What I see from your vision is
You want to just keep it general.
Well, I think we
it's
should,
not just
as
that.
people, focus on main principles and how those things impact us.
The
And I
vision
think
you're
that's the
referring
most,
to.
best way to act.
Actionable.
Yeah, it's best way to act.
So the one thing to take from this lecture, and also from your vision, right? His lecture, he's saying that the Western countries, right, are going to go against oppression, right? In the end times, the Western countries will be going against oppression. And it's not just going to be, you know, Shias or Muslims. Right? I think a lot of people are going to be looking at oppression and going against it, right? So in our situation, right, how are you going to recognize oppression, right? So I agree with him in terms of knowing the signs, but beyond just knowing the signs, right? How would you be close to be in a position that you'll be against oppression? How do you get close to Allah
Yeah,
to be in a position to be against oppression? And that's actually
that's the real question.
the real thing to do at this time is not just to know these names and just to kind of figure out what the locations are and stuff and at the private locations or go to those locations. Some people actually will go camping in those locations. Right? They'll just sit there and like, oh yeah, and I'm
when I-
from here and it's like no, that's
when I
not what he's
touched
asking you
about
to do.
correlation and causation, it's kind of about that too. Like, am I supposed to like
Yeah,
immediately
you
act
go to
upon
Yemen
this?
and just sit there in some island.
Like,
Just like,
I'm sure there has been times in history where Shia have thought, yeah, the Mahdi is going to come.
Yes, precisely.
So this and we have a hadith about or in the ayahs in the Quran, munajjeen, people who try to predict the future. These things are not really good.
I should like to add that in terms of,
Can't predict the future.
of course, but in terms of let's say that a war does erupt, let's just theoretically, right? Because this is given it's probably gonna happen in the future. Let's say in our lifetimes this does occur. I think the best choice overall is just to listen to what the House says. Let's say this is before the word Hujjah, right? Who is the leading the guidance for the Muslimin, right? How's it the Najaf?
I think these first follows are on Majah in regards to fiqh.
Of course, but the main ones are how's it
When it comes to Aqa'id, and I think when it comes to the Mahdi and it comes to Dhuhr, I think this is more of a Aqa'id question, the Aqidah question, and that's for you personally. No one's supposed to give you any issue. You are making that decision.
The Marja will tell you to pray 5 times a day. They'll tell
Yes,
you
how to
this
pray,
way.
how to do
So-
wudu,
No,
how to-
no, but-
that's all fiqh.
But I mean, like when it comes to like our direct
No, so when you can't label history, that's very important. You can't label this as this is going to happen. So anybody, any marja, no marja, worth his weight, will say this person is the well. The only thing we can be certain of is when the Imam comes, right? And I think that's the only time we can label it. We can all have our opinions about things that occur and say this guy is the Yamani, this guy is the Sufyani. That's our own perspective and opinion. And the only thing that is like a hujjah is the hujjah.
It'll be so obvious.
Yes.
So then I should
So
I'd like
when
to
that's another thing about his perspective and his opinion. He's making conclusions. And he's trying to say that we're supposed to follow his conclusions. We're supposed to follow the conclusions of a certain perspective. No, it's a certain perspective in a worldview. And he's promoting that and he's pushing it.
This is part of the whole.
Yeah, he's promoting it and he's pushing it.
Okay, so let me rephrase in my perspective, right? Me personally, I would listen to How's it Najaf before the appearance of the Hujjah. So the How's it Najaf, I'll give you an example.
Why are you giving up your autonomy in
It's
regards to
not
that
autonomy. It's
question?
it's
Like,
it's an acceptance of what do you mean giving up autonomy?
you're submitting your freedom of making a decision about these things to the house. That's what you're telling me.
How is it not just as
Yeah, that's what you're
as
telling
our
me.
knowledge
Wait, brother, but
is
isn't he just using his autonomy to make that
Yeah,
decision
he
for
is.
himself?
He is.
So how is he like giving up his freedom? He's
Because the
using his-
final decision is up to him. He's giving that final decision up to someone else. So he is making a
The final
decision, but
decision
it's
is
an
up to me
intermediary
to
decision. It's
choose.
not the final decision.
The final
And,
decision is
and
up
I'm
to me
saying
to
that
choose.
certain things you have to make the final decision on. Remember, we said that the 5 usul al-din you have to make the final decision on. But furu' al-din you can do it, you can follow mujtahid. But the usul al-din, and when it comes to the Imam and Mahdi, that's usul al-din, that's the imam. So you need to make that decision on your own. There's can't be an intermediary. You have to make that direct decision.
Right, and of course we all make the final decision in the end. When I listen to I do ijtihad, when I listen to the house, that is my final decision to listen to the house.
But I'm telling you that you're only supposed to do that, and this is one of the beautiful things about the school of Ahlul Bayt, is that you're only supposed to do taqleed. You're only supposed to follow someone else when it comes to furu' al-din, not to usul al-din. So we have the 5 usul al-din, which is tawheed, nabuwah, imama, ma'as, and adab, right? Those are usul al-din. These 5 things, we as individuals at puberty, right, when we are held responsible for our actions, we have to come to understand these things on our own, independently of people or books. We have to come to understand through reason and logic.
Are we not guided though?
So,
No, not when it comes to usul. There is like I'm
You said
brother. We mentioned. Can you jump in when it comes to usul? Yeah, please. Because
So
you're more authoritative than me.
okay, well, let me just kind of, so I know you guys were expressing some of your thoughts on his presentation, and mashallah, I mean, he has he's yeah. So his name is Sayyid Sajjad Raza, which he's from Pakistan. Sajjad Rida, right, would be really what we would call him. Yeah, Sayyid Sajjad. So he's from Pakistan. He used to be a microbiologist in Pakistan, but then he decided that he wanted to go to Hausa, and he went to Hausa when he was in his maybe mid 30s or so. So he's been there now for 12 years. So he has his family there, and they live in Qum. I think he's mentored a lot of people in the community, like he's mentored Hussein and Brother Fahim and some other individuals. But he's studied there for 12 years, and he's focused specifically on trying to understand basically Islamic philosophy and how it fits in the modern world, contemporary Islamic thought. He's doing a PhD right now in that kind of that field of expertise. But yes, he's primarily, I mean, his first language is Urdu, and then he also speaks Punjabi, which is a very common language in Pakistan. And then he learned, of course, Persian in Iran. So yes, and he's he knows some Arabic as well. Yes, yeah.
I got a question. So there's obviously difference in opinion on what's happened at the end of times. So what causes that, and between what margin is it margins that causes difference? Because I know it's not sect because it comes between Shia as well.
Yeah.
And what they consider as authentic or what they consider as not gonna happen.
Okay, so there's 3 points. So number 1 is all the narrations about the end times. They're all what we call khabar ahad, right? Khabar ahad means single solitary reports. So you have a person who's narrating, supposedly going back on a chain from the Imam, that the Imam said XYZ about, end times, right? And this individual, those people in the chain, we might not know their identities. That's what he was describing. That chain might be da'if, it might be a weak chain, because we don't know all the people who are actually transmitting this narration to us. I mean, we didn't exist at their time to know, are they reliable people or who are they? So we're getting these chains, we're getting these supported, sort of narrations that tell us something about the end times, right? I think the right way to do it is to consider each one of those narrations as a separate data point. And you can't necessarily conclude definitively that, okay, this narration is reliable or not, but you have a whole bunch of data points, right? And then you see how they cluster, right? So we have a lot of narrations that all are talking about this individual called the Sufyani, for instance. So we know an individual called the Sufyani, that's what we call al-qadar al-mutayaqqan, right? The lowest common denominator is that there's an individual who's going to be from the lineage of Abu Sufyan, who's going to come at the end of times, and he's going to be a munharif, he's going to be a deviant individual, he's going to kill a lot of individuals, cause a lot of mayhem, a lot of bloodshed, and eventually he will be swallowed. There's al-khasf bil bayda, that's very, very much mentioned in the narrations as well. And it's actually not true that Sufyani is only mentioned in Shia books. In fact, he's mentioned in the Sunni books too. So,
I think there was. I remember hearing there was a point like
yes,
even Khorasani is also found in Shia.
right. It's
And
he's
Sufyan,
predominantly mentioned in the Shia books, but there are Sunni references to him as well.
and all I know is in regards to Sufyani and the Sunnis is that there is a split in opinion. I heard
Yeah.
some opinions say that Sufyani is sit on the side of rightness or correctness.
Right.
And then most Sunnis agree that he is a deviant.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So,
I think it's part of his lineage.
Sufyan, so that's what the narrations say, that he's from the line of Abu Sufyan.
The individual.
This individual, yes.
Like in the end of times, will be with his line.
He will be from his line, yes. Yeah, and that's mentioned in many narrations, you know. So if you look at, see, the right way to do it, I think, is to look at how the data points cluster, right? And then we can get a general idea. Like, let's say you have, think about it like for media, right? You have 10, 15 different news stations that all tell you the same thing. And you can kind of say, okay, there must be some type of, maybe all of them give you different angles on, you know, for instance, what's happening in Gaza, but you know that something is happening in Gaza, you know,
the drones
right?
up in the northeast. We know there's drones, but we don't
Yeah.
know where they're from.
Yeah.
We know there's drones.
We know there's drones, right? So we can, so that's the right way to do it, right? Even today, that's how human beings think about things, right? So, so that's the first point. The second point I think you have to remember is that many of the narrations, there was clear ideological intent behind them. So, for instance, some individuals, extremist groups, they would say, for instance, you know, the Abbasids, you know, when the Abbasids fall, that will be the end of, that will be towards the end times. You know, I mean, Abbasids fell like, you know, over 1,000 years ago
It's
almost,
interesting
right?
they refer to the current rulers
As Abbas.
as Banu Abbas or the descendants of Banu Abbas. That's interesting. I actually never thought of it that way. So maybe there is some truth.
Maybe the Beni Hashim, but the people of
The
Najd
Khalid
are not.
rulers.
So what happens to people is what they do is they to kind of salvage these narrations, they'll try to make them symbolic, you know. Okay, so Banu Abbas, it's the representing the ideology of the Banu Abbas, the Abbasid ideology. That's what will kind of, you know, be the prevalent kind of,
There's
you know.
probably truth to that.
So what they'll do is they'll kind of abstractify the narrations a little bit, you know. But the reality is, I mean, there was clear folks at that time who had some ideological intent, and they tried to inject that into the narrations, you know. And they would say these types of things so that people get excited. Oh, okay, something's gonna be happening. Like, so for instance, there's a very famous hadith amongst the Sunnis in their books that Umar ibn Abdul Aziz is the Mahdi, you know. So this is Umar ibn Abdul Aziz was like one of the last caliphs of the Umayyads, right? So this is a narration in Sunni books. So you can see clear ideological intent there. There's people who are clearly Umayyi leaning, and they fabricated this narration, right? Interestingly, there was somebody was actually, there was a Telegram channel, right? This person, he posted this and he said, I've heard from reliable sources, from reliable books, that the very last marja of the Shia will be of the name Abu Qasim al-Khu'i, and he will be living in Hawza Najaf. After him, there will be Imam al-Mahdi. This is like a narration, right? That somebody says they heard. This that somebody claims exists, you know, and it's from, you know, bisanadin mu'tabar fi ba'd al-ahadith al-mu'tabara, you know. It's like they're transmitting this, you know, and they say that they found it somewhere. Who knows where they got it from? Who knows? But you see, this is what I'm saying, that you have to be very careful and have a critical lens when you look at narrations. Don't just blindly go for them, you know. You have to realize that there was a lot of ideological currents at the times of our Imams even. There was people who were Abbasid leaning, people who were Umayyad leaning, people who were just, you know, atheistic. they all had there was the ghulat, you had all these elements that would infiltrate the hadith and, spread their own rumors, right? Do you think?
I'd like to add that
Yeah.
because you mentioned spreading rumors. There are from what I've read, there are some Sunnis who claim that the hadith of the Khorasani is a fabrication with ideological intent because
Yeah.
apparently it came before the Abbasid revolution, and the
Yes.
Abbasid revolution originated in what is modern day Khorasan,
Yeah.
or the day of Iran, modern
Yeah.
day Iran, and so on. So some Sunni sheikhs and so on, they were claiming at this time that the Khorasani hadith was a fabrication to justify the Abbasid revolution.
Yes. Yep. And there are definitely people who have said this.
Can be like empirically proven, like Abu Sufyan's lineage can be traced.
Right.
We know who's descended. So that's not really like a question where it's like speculative. Like we can trace who's descended
Yeah.
from that line.
I mean, this is at least we can say the common denominator that exists in the narrations. That there will be an individual who traces himself to Banu Sufyan. If you want to call that lineage-wise or ideology-wise, whatever, but there are narrations that indicate this, and that's so. And we can do this. There's what we call al-alamat al-hatmiya. Those things that are definitely going to happen, right? And even when we say hatmiya, that doesn't mean that they are definitive. It's possible Allah could change his mind. There's something called bada, right? Where Allah can, He can reveal something to a certain group of people at a time, but the reality is something else, And it's possible at any point for that, whatever information was existing at that time to be changed later, right? So even the alamat hatmiya, I think I shared a narration in the group that, somebody came to Imam al-Baqir and told him that this emergence of Sufyani, is this something that Allah could do bada in? Could Allah, change this? And so that this khuruj of Sufyani doesn't happen, the uprising of the Sufyani doesn't occur. And he said, yes, it can happen. So then he said, well, then I'm afraid that even this Imam al-Mahdi arising, that Allah could change his mind and say, I don't want Imam Mahdi to come, let you people fend for yourselves, right? What then, right? So Imam told him, no, the coming, the rise of Al-Qa'im, the rise of the 12th Imam, this is from the mi'ad, right? Mi'ad basically means the promise of God. And God doesn't, in Allah la yukhliful mi'ad. Allah doesn't go against, He doesn't renege on His promises, right? So the coming of the Mahdi is part of Akhir al-Zaman. It's part of the belief in Ma'ad. So yes, it actually is part. Believing in Imam al-Mahdi is unanimous. All the Muslims believe in Imam al-Mahdi, right? Sunnis, Shias, every sect, it's mutawatir. It's been narrated by so many people that there's no doubt about Imam al-Mahdi, right? Even in the Quran, there's indications of Imam al-Mahdi, right? So the fact that that's going to happen, that is, if you want to say truly definitive, but it's a definite occurrence. It's going to definitely happen. A lot of these other things, these signs that, they're called alamat hatmiya because there's a lot of evidence in the narrations that they're going to happen. But it's possible that they might not. We might be living in an era where none of these things are relevant anymore. Perhaps Allah has already done bada and changed the formulation completely.
Well, maybe it already occurred.
Yeah.
And it's just another 1,000 years until it
Yeah.
occurs.
So exactly. So but this is the second point, right? And the third point that I think is really important to understand. What was my third point that I wanted? Did you have a question?
I remember you mentioned at the group chat. I think Hussein uploaded something as well, a long paragraph.
Yeah.
He said,
Glad you're reading them, man. Good job.
Of course, I read them. Yeah. It's not. It just looks long on the phone. It's not that long. But he had mentioned that hadith attributed to Imam al-Baqir, hadith Sunnah, I believe. That some of the signs, like you said, some of these things may or may not occur. They might change, but some of them are definitive.
Yeah.
And in hadith, I believe it was mentioned that the appearance of the Sufyani and Khorasani and Yamani are some of these definitive signs that these things will occur.
Yeah.
They don't happen.
But the point is that yes, they are definitive in the sense that they are things that are
indicators for the Imam.
they're indicators for the Imam's coming.
Indicators for themselves. Like they're not.
Of course, yeah.
But the thing is, Allah still has. Do have we talked about bada? What is bada?
Not in detail.
Do you guys know what
You
bada
mentioned
is?
it once, but we can go over it again. I think it's easy.
So bada is a theological belief that us Shia have that the Sunnis do not have, right? So I think we might have talked about it in brief last time, but you guys who know Arabic, you say yabdu li, for instance, right? Yabdu li, what does yabdu li mean?
It appears.
Yabdu. Yabdu means to appear, right? To seem, right? So, okay, so that's what the word bada, it comes from that root, right? Bada means to make something seem like it's going to be, but then change your mind, right? Or then that's how it applies to human beings, right? So for instance, when it comes to Allah, we can't apply this, right? Because Allah doesn't change His mind, right? Allah, I mean, it's not like Allah says, "Oh, I wrote your destiny yesterday, but I've thought about it a little bit more. Let me change a couple. I'll fudge a little number, some of the numbers here, right? Allah doesn't do that, right? Allah doesn't change His mind. So what does bada mean when it comes to Allah? It means that at a certain point to human beings, Allah basically Allah has two separate basically types of books, right? He has a book where He says Yamhu Allahu ma yasha wa yuthbit wa indahu kitab, right? Allah, He erases whatever He wants and He establishes whatever He wants in a certain record with Him, and He has basically the mother of books, right? That's one of the verses of the Quran, right? And then there's basically another type of book which is with Allah, which is ma yubaddalu al-qawlu ladayya wa ma ana bidhallamin lil abid. Allah never changes His word, right? So like we see these two verses in the Quran. One says, okay, Allah can change, He can erase, and another one says that Allah doesn't, His words never changes, right? So what this means is that basically it's like, how we have, for instance, certain narrations that say, for instance, if you give sadaqah, let's say you're gonna die tomorrow, but because you gave sadaqah, or you did birr al-walidain, or you did silatul rahim, because of that, your lifespan extends for another 10, 15 years, right? So what happened there? Did Allah just change the rules? In Allah's book, it was already established. Your actual lifespan was already established. But the thing is, the angels, they had it in their books that you're gonna die tomorrow, right? Allah knows already what you're going to do even before you do it. But finally, when you do that good action, the angels erase whatever was in their record and they extend it out, right? So that's what we mean. There's a book that's kind of conditional based on your actions, based on what's happening in the world right now. Allah has knowledge of the final outcome, right? But the book with the angels is a conditional book that can change, right?
That's regards to human action, and I guess that's
Yeah.
why Sufyani may or may not come, because
Yes,
does
right.
this guy actually become the Sufyani? That's his choice.
Yeah. So
Can or cannot happen.
So that's what we mean when we say bada, right? So bada means that it appeared to human beings like something was going to happen, and it seemed like that, right? But then the reality was actually something else, and it came out later once the circumstances changed. That basically that decree that was originally made was altered, right? But not in Allah's knowledge, but rather in the way that the world actually works. In the record with the angels, it changed, right? So this is when it comes to knowledge that the Imams even had. Some of the knowledge that the Imams had was actually subject to bada, right? That Allah told the Imams something, but then actually the actual hukm, the actual final decree of Allah was different, right? But the Imam had limited knowledge in the beginning. He was given only partial knowledge, right? Knowledge that wasn't complete. But then Allah completed the knowledge later on, right? So that's not doesn't mean Allah is deceiving, right? Some people they say, oh well, your God is a deceiving God then. No, it's just that partial knowledge that was relevant for a human being, that was in the human being's maslaha, in his good interest at that time. And then Allah reserves the right to, in His final knowledge, of course, when the Imam's going to come, exactly what signs are going to be around that time, that's completely up to Allah, right? But so these, I think one of the things you have to understand about many of these alamat, even the hatmiya, the signs that are supposed to be definitive, is that they were conditioned by the historical circumstances. So even when you look at the Imams, right, there are certain narrations that come from only certain Imams, right? So that indicates to you that perhaps this was something that was fluctuating. Every era, the expected signs were changing, So like, I'll give you an example, like the Yamani, right? The Yamani is mentioned by the early Imams, but after Imam as-Sadiq, he's not mentioned. The later Imams, they don't say anything about Yamani. So why is that? Why is it that only Imam as-Sadiq and the earlier Imams are mentioning Yamani? Wouldn't you expect that if this is a definitive sign, you're going to have from every Imam, he's going to be narrating Yamani, 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 Yamani? No. We see actually trends and patterns in what signs the Imams are telling us. And it's like different eras, there's different signs being emphasized, right? So what that tells you is that there could have been sort of a type of bada that was happening here, right? That the sort of signs were actually changing with different eras, right? And perhaps in the era that we're living in now, the signs have completely, changed, right? What we have to, rather than looking at specifically for signs, we have to look at the personality of the individual who's going to rise, right? You have a lot of fake Mahdis, for instance, today, right? There's a lot of individuals who claim that they're Imam Mahdi that are just completely like fools them. They're complete charlatans, right?
History itself, there was a revolt in Sudan.
Yeah.
British colonial era. It's called the Mahdi's Revolt.
Yeah.
Because the man who led it claimed to be the Mahdi.
Yeah. Even this Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, very famous guy, the kind of leader of the Ahmadis, right? He also claimed he was Imam Mahdi. We have now this guy, what is it, his name? In Iraq? Al-Ghati, I think is his name. Ahmad al-Hassani is his name. You guys might have heard of him. Yes, Ahmad al-Hassan. He claims he's Imam Mahdi, right? Or that he's basically the representative of Imam Mahdi, and Imam Mahdi has already emerged, and you have to accept him, otherwise the world will just go into Armageddon and whatever. And so you have all these false claimants coming out, right? So I think for a Shia, the most important thing is to be able to recognize who is a charlatan, right? Well, when someone doesn't have the basic qualifications, don't be like a simp and fall for them. You have to be a little bit strong, be able to actually understand your religion well enough that you can realize this person's a complete charlatan, right? But I don't think pinning yourself on all these signs like, oh, what's going to happen in Syria, what's going to happen in Yemen, what's going to happen in Khorasan. And I think that this is very dangerous. And honestly, we have many narrations that also do, tahrim al-tawqit. It means like you're not supposed to say, oh, the Imam is coming. The Imam is coming. I can tell you, I can predict the next events are going to happen like this. They're going to unfold like this. We actually, like it's mentioned in our narrations, do not do that. You don't have any idea. Just look for the individual that is actually, has the right qualifications to be the Mahdi. And it'll be clear as day, when that individual comes. You won't need to keep relying on all these signs. Oh, what's happening. I mean, we can say Sufyani if you want to know about the signs that are definitive per the narrations, and what sort of, I think the right way to do it is like this, where you look at what are the clusters of the data points. How do they all? What's the lowest common denominator amongst this group of narrations? And like for instance, the Sufyani, that's mentioned in Sunni narrations, Shia narrations. We know a little bit about the fact he's going to be a deviant person. He's going to arise in Sham. He's going to have some type of link to Abu Sufyan, and he's going to be destroyed in this. This basically on his way to Medina, as he's going towards Medina, he's going to be sucked into the earth, right? A sinkhole in the desert is just going to swallow him and his army. Those are the things that we have in our narrations. Now, how much you're like, oh, I have absolute yaqeen that this is going to happen. I'm absolutely certain. Unless this happens, I'm not going to believe anybody is the Imam. Imam Mahdi didn't arise until this XYZ sign happened. I think that is very naive, and it's a very wrong way to think, because if you have the right person who emerges and he tells you, I'm Imam Mahdi, he has all the signs, all the qualifications, and he has clearly, the signs of nubuwa, the signs of imama rather, signs of that he comes from the Nabawi lineage, right? And he has the sort of proofs with him. How are you going to say, okay, unless I saw the Sufyani, unless Sufyani exists, I'm not going to believe you and stuff. That's stupid, right? So we have to, I think, also understand how to look at the whole scenario. All these signs that we have mentioned in the riwayat, they're not in the sense of like, unless this happens, I'm not going to believe in Imam Mahdi. I'm not going to believe whoever's coming is Imam Mahdi. Like, it's not. I don't think that's the right way to look at these issues.
And in terms of the 9 months or the 6 months.
Yeah.
So they said it's a woman's,
Carriage, yeah.
pregnancy.
Carrying.
So how much is that? Is it exactly 9 months? Is it lunar months? Solar months? Is it 6 months? Is it 7 months? Preterm? Post?
It would just be 9 months.
No, it's not usually 9 months.
No.
If you know.
Okay,
But
but
did you understand what I'm saying? The hadith says it's a woman's pregnancy, right? So that's between 6 to like,
Yeah.
9 months.
right? So do you see what I'm saying? And I think in the previous discussion of Badat, Salaam alaikum, good to see you guys. Which is actually, you pointed out a very even better thing from the Quran about Yunus alayhi salam, right? He was so sure that his people are going to be destroyed.
Yeah.
He was sure. He even like left because he was angry. His people are going to be destroyed, and then he left. He's gone, and then he comes back, and mashallah, Allah does not destroy his people. They all do tawbah, and mashallah, everything's great, right? So all these signs, it's the same thing. But that can occur in every single aspect, in every single sign of these. Where Spain doesn't show up, or it's not, it's not 9 months. It's actually 3 months.
Yeah, I mean, the Quran is filled with this. Like, for instance, even going to Yunus, right? It says, فَلَوْلَا أَنَّهُ كَانَ مِنَ الْمُسَبِّحِينَ لَلَبِثَ
He himself too, yeah.
في بطنه إلى يوم يبعثون, right?
He
If,
himself,
if it was not for Prophet Yunus constantly doing, saying Subhanaka inni kuntu min al-dhalimin and praying to Allah while he was in that state, he would have remained in the belly of the whale till the day of judgment. Allah is clearly, so that's an example of bada, right? Where because of his actions, his destiny changed,
I
right?
never thought of this as a microcosm to his own people. And subhanAllah, it's like he has his own tests, and his people have their own test as well. In that,
Yeah.
like, they had to change their ways, and they'll get tawbah. And he had to also get closer to Allah. And he also had his I guess his closest to Allah, his relative tawbah.
So,
It's very interesting.
I mean,
Yeah, it's very
I think the gist of what I'm trying to say is that, like, I mean, this was a great session just to hear his perspective as someone who's very, I think very involved in the riwayat. He's very much has studied them, and he's done his own analyses and reached his own conclusions. But I think at the same time you have to contextualize it in the sense of not becoming hyper focused on the details. I think a lot of people are like, oh, 6 months, 8 months. Oh, okay, wait, I need to time this. Between Jamadi and Rajab,
Right now that have Ismi Allah is this a verified hadith? Like, it's the first time I ever heard it. I understand that there are like 313 leaders that come with the Imam.
Right.
But the idea that they are alive right now and that they are doing the Imam's bidding currently and that they have Ismullah al-Azam and they're using it in doing supernatural things. This is another.
I don't think he referred to supernatural things.
No, he did say supernatural things.
Did he say that? Because I don't think I understood.
So, I mean, I think he's a little bit Irfani leaning. He's no, he has some Irfani I know him because I just know him personally. So, he has some Irfani leanings about him. And a lot of these things about Ismullah al-A'zam, and that you have access to Ismullah al-A'zam and you can do all these supernatural things, it comes from that tradition,
I understand. I know that comes from that tradition. What I'm saying is that he's saying that they're like, he's taking it a step further in terms of like Irfan, spiritual insight for Tazkiyah is, I understand, okay, but he's taking it a step further by saying that there are people who are 300. What worries me is that one of those 313 people is going to be claiming that, right? That's the so is there secret society? Is there Illuminati of 313 guys who?
I think, to be honest, I think that was a language barrier thing, perhaps. I don't know if he intended to say that. Because I mean, personally, yeah, I know what you mean, and I was a little bit baffled by that as well. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he meant to say that these 313 people are actually already all existing. They're already all born, and they're all. Yeah, I mean, I think he meant in the sense of perhaps that they will be helping the Shia, or like kind of behind closed doors, or
They will do some of these things.
They should already be existing. That's the thing.
Like behind the curtain, they already have their roles.
Doing things.
Putin is one of them.
Putin.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm worried about.
Anyway, who they are, but they definitely are already doing things. They have to be already doing things. Because how would
I'm
you
worried
get?
about what you just said by making a claim about something.
How would you get to that
Who- I
level to
don't care
be
who the
a
person is.
companion of the Imam?
Well-
Or if you're not doing things already, you have to be doing things already, and then you
No,
get
no.
to be a companion, right?
Remember, there's a lot of hadith about if anybody claims that they saw me or met me,
Yes,
don't
no,
believe
no,
me.
no. We're
That's
not.
the type of
I
idea.
don't think he meant that they saw him.
I know. I'm saying that it lends itself to such language.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I think I'd like to give him the benefit of the doubt and say either his tongue slipped, or maybe it was a language barrier. Yeah, but I didn't quite understand why he was saying that. And personally, I think it's a dangerous claim to make unless you have truly definitive knowledge. And even if you do, I think it's best not to tell people that, because then people get this. Okay, well, how do we know about these people? Where are they? People are naturally curious, and they want to know all these.
Four different sources.
Yeah.
Right? We got some. What was it, guys?
Empiricism?
Empiricism.
Mysticism,
No, yes.
Narrations.
Empiricism, mysticism, narrations.
Yeah.
There's one more.
And
Logic.
Aql. Yeah. Yeah.
Science.
Do you remember?
That's mysticism.
Yeah, mysticism.
And the
Yeah.
thing about mysticism is that it can't be shared.
Yeah.
And the only basis we can share is the
And that's why I was saying he has some funny leanings about him, But I mean, it was nice to just hear his perspective, And I think it's I think it's good. It's good to it personally. That's why when this topic was suggested, personally, I like to focus more on how do you recognize your imam, rather than what signs will surround his coming. People like to talk about signs, like, oh, you want to know what's happening and what's going to happen and what does religion say is going to happen, as if like religion has all the predictions of politics. Like the Holy Prophet told us everything that's going to happen till who's going to be the next president of Iraq. We should be able to find from the hadith. It's like,
Is it safe to say the only thing certain? Because hadith, there's bayda.
Yeah.
That can occur. Is it safe to say the Quran is immune from bayda?
No. So because the Quran, so there's two levels. Oh yeah. ما ننسخ من آية أو ننسها نأتي بخير منها أو مثلها. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there is that verse, right? But I think the question you're proposing is a little bit different. So I think you see when it comes to anything in religion, right? You have two levels of epistemology. Or epistemology is basically evaluating the level of knowledge, right? Evaluating how you know how you're able to derive a knowledge claim, right? So whenever you have a source, whenever you have a religious source, there's two levels, right? And he was talking about this a little bit. It's called as-sudur wa dilala, right? As-sudur means the statement that's being made, right? Is it from a reliable source? Can you track that source? Can you, for instance, track it to the Holy Prophet reliably through an authentic chain or through basically authentic means, right? That this actually was said by the Prophet, right? So that's called as-sudur, right? That's what we mean when we say as-sudur, that it actually issued from a reliable source, right? And then we have ad-dilala. Ad-dilala is like, okay, we can be definitively sure that the Prophet said X, Y, Z. But then the question is, what does X, Y, Z mean, right? How do we understand that, right? So the thing is, the Quran is 100% when it comes to being sure about its sudur, that it came from Allah. We can be 100% sure that it came from Allah. Then the question is, okay, you look at a Quranic verse, what does this verse mean? You have 20 different interpretations of what this verse means, right? So how do you know what it actually means? It's what we call dhanniyu dilala, right? Dhanniyu dilala means you have to speculate, kind of, okay, what is the most likely meaning based on my human knowledge, my human understanding? How do I understand the Quran, right? But that understanding that you have is not an infallible understanding. The Quran is infallible, sure, but your understanding of the Quran is not infallible, and you could be completely wrong in your interpretation. Some people, they look at, I'll give you an example. They look at the verses about that Brother Sha'ir was mentioning, about Prophet Isa being raised to the heavens, and they say, oh well, this means that he actually died. They actually use those same verses that I'm looking at, and they say that, oh, being raised means that he, like, what is he somewhere on cloud nine? Just sitting there suspended. He's alive. What are you people talking about? He died. So they'll look at those same verses and they'll interpret it that way, right? And then I've heard people speak like that, right? But then other people will look at a different verse of the Quran that talks about Prophet Isa, right? That says that nobody of the people of Ahlul Kitab will die, right? Except that they will believe in Prophet Isa before he dies, right? So then the question is, okay, before he dies means that Prophet Isa must still be alive, right? Because it says before Prophet Isa dies, right? Everybody, all the Ahlul Kitab will recognize him. They will believe in him, right? So yes. So this is why the Shias and the Sunnis, we both believe that Isa is still alive, right?
Christians say the same thing. They say
Yeah.
the end times will come when every man and woman on earth has heard about Christ.
Yeah. So exactly. But this meaning already exists in the Quran. It says, وَإِن مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ إِلَّا لَيُؤْمِنَنَّ بِهِ قَبْلَ مَوْتِهِ وَيَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ يَكُونُ عَلَيْهِمْ شَهِيدًا. Right. So this verse is very clear. So but then people will look at this, right, and they say قَبْلَ مَوْتِهِ. مَوْتِهِ مَوْتُ مَنْ? Is it maut of the Kitabi or maut of Isa? What is the meaning here? So where does that dhamir go back to? Who before the death of whom, right? The death of the person who's a Kitabi or a person of Isa, right? So you have all these interpretations. Wudu verse is another example. So that's the thing when it comes to religious understanding. You have to. So when it comes to hadith, you might have only one interpretation of a hadith. Some hadith, they have multiple interpretations, but many they're very written in very clear vernacular, very clear language. There's no ambiguity about them. But then the question is, well, what about the source? Can I actually be 100% sure that the Imam said this or that the Prophet said this? And that's where the problem comes with hadith, because many times you cannot be 100% sure, right? So there are two very different types of sources, right? So I think that's an important element to understand when it comes to looking at religious knowledge. The difference between Quran and hadith and at the level of epistemology, right?
Adequate. So what do we know for certain about the end times, just according to the Quran?
Just according to the Quran, that there will be, basically, Allah says in the Quran that وَلَقَدْ كَتَبْنَا فِي الزَّبُورِ مِنْ بَعْدِ الذِّكْرِ أَنَّ الْأَرْضَ يَرِثُهَا عِبَادِيَ الصَّالِحُونَ, right? That my righteous servants, Allah has already written this in the previous scriptures, and in the Quran He's written this, that my righteous servants will inherit the earth, right? Meaning that this earth will eventually be governed by a righteous, godly force, right? By a godly individual, right? And so that's mentioned very clearly in the Quran, right? And Allah has made a promise in the Quran that He will establish the believers in the earth in a way that they will not have any fear. They will be able to practice their religion completely according to God's commands. They will not worship anyone other than God. And the believers will basically rule the entire earth, right? So when is that going to happen? Right now, we don't live in that type of era. That's going to happen when the 12th Imam comes back, right? So that's what I was saying, that the 12th Imam is God's promise. God's already made that promise in the Quran, right? But beyond that, Sufyani, is Sufyani mentioned in the Quran? No. Yamani is not mentioned in the Quran. All these personalities, that doesn't mean that they're not going to come. But what I'm saying is that they're subject to change. And it's possible that these things could be revised, right? In God's infinite knowledge.
So they're just essentially serve as the guideline. This is something that might happen. You could expect, but
Yeah.
it's not certain.
Yes, exactly. Wa alaikum salam, man. Yes, exactly. That's the right way to look at it. And this is why I think rather than focusing on the Sufyani and the Yamani and the Khurasani, I think the more important thing is to focus on your own spiritual upliftment. How do I become a better person such that I can recognize my Imam when he comes? How do I increase my ma'rifah, right? Of who the Imam is, right? So what are his traits? How would he want me to be as a person, right? Trying to build yourself like that. I think focusing on, a lot of us Muslims, I think we lose the forest for the trees. We start focusing, okay, how many branches is that tree going to have that's coming right at this juncture? And, it's like,
You're looking at the wrong tree the whole time.
it's like, yeah, you're not even looking at the right tree, And it's like, okay, which tree is going to point me to the right direction of, when the Imam is going to come back? It's like, no, focus on the bigger picture. There's a lot more here that you need to be focusing in on rather than, these minutia that really, I mean, let's say he comes in Rajab or he comes in Sha'ban or he comes in Ramadan. How is it going to make a difference to you? Yeah. Yeah. And I shared an article in the group. It was in Arabic, but oh yeah. So, but it goes through like the narrations. It shows you how much variance when it comes to Sufyani. What's the name of Sufyani? He said Uthman ibn Ambasa. There's like 10 or 15 different names mentioned for what is Sufyani's name, right? There's 10 different narrations that tell you what time he's going to come out. It's going to be in Ramadan. It's going to be after Ramadan. It's going to be, before Imam al-Mahdi comes. It's going to be after Imam al-Mahdi. There's like so many different narrations and they all say different things. So then so we can't have certainty about those details, right? We can say that the lowest common denominator is that there's an individual who's going to be a deviant, who's going to emerge, close to the coming of the Imam. And that's, yeah, he's going to be from that lineage, right?
The spirit I think that he was talking about is it's a bushra, in that this individual will come, bring some pain with him, right, or torment to the Muslims, but have some hope that alhamdulillah the Imam is close.
Yeah. And I think that's most, these, you have to look at the bigger picture. A believer doesn't despair, right? When things happen in the world, Gaza, or even the things that are happening in Lebanon, right? The Shia, so many Shias being killed, even Pakistan, right? We know all these sort of things that are happening to the Muslims throughout the world. But a believer doesn't despair. A believer is always in a state of expecting God's deliverance, right? That God will open up an opportunity for him. So, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَل لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. Anybody who has that taqwa, Allah will open up a path for him, right? So, I think that's when you look at those narrations, try to extract that type of psychology out of them. That a believer is not like, oh man, it's been a year now. It's been such a terrible year. Why is nothing happening? Why is Imam not coming? Some people, and then they, oh God, then they actually go to this extent that they start accusing God of things, right? Oh God, you don't care about the believers. You are constantly, seeing all of this and you do nothing, right? And then they start speaking like this to Allah, right? That's a huge sin, right? You have to be very careful about, because everything is in Allah's command. Everything is His dominion, right? Even us living on this world, we can die tomorrow, right? I mean, we have a whole hereafter ahead of us, right? Why destroy your hereafter because of this dunya, thinking bad things about Allah, su'al dhan, right?
Delivers in the end. Like,
yeah.
Take the Israelites; they were oppressed by the Egyptians for some hundreds or thousands of years or so.
Yeah.
And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala delivered to them Musa alayhi salam,
yeah.
deliverance, and then to the land of Palestine. So
yeah.
Kind of proof that even if your nation suffers oppression and death and so on, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala delivers in the end. He's shown this several times.
Yeah.
Maybe the purpose of eschatology is that it's supposed to give you the myth or the legend you need to fight or make history. Like for instance, what you said about like the Sudanese people revolting against British colonial. Yeah, they could.
That was just referring
It might be wrong that whatever person was using like the Mahdi, like he's obviously a false Mahdi, but that eschatology was used to liberate the world. It's an actual like good.
Your point is eschatology may be used like
he actually does have a.
No, I think eschatology is about like it's not. It could just be referring to something that's real, but not in a final sense, but real in the sense like Christians, how they use eschatology was they described the Roman Empire, and the Rome for them could represent America, like the United States of America, or Rome then, or it could represent the Vatican. But what it was used to represent was like the center of evil in the world, and it was a revolt against that.
Right.
Well, he does. I don't exactly agree with his point, but I was actually gonna bring a point back to how you you mentioned, because we were discussing some of the figures, some of the personalities like Al-Yamani. You said Al-Yamani after, I think Imam Sadiq alayhi salam was no longer mentioned.
Yes.
Hadith narrations by the Imams.
Yes.
I should like to point, I think in this point in history, around the time of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, this is the time of the Zaydi revolt in Yemen,
Mm-hmm.
which is the establishment of the Zaydiyya as we know today, the Zaydi Shia.
Right.
They claim to be. I think it was around the time of Sadiq alayhi salam. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe his narration and the continued narration of the appearance of Yamani until the Zaydi revolts
Had
caused
something to do with that,
maybe
perhaps. Yeah.
maybe the preconditions for Al Yamani were set by the time Al Zaydi revolt occurred, so there was no need to maybe narrate it further.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, it's very.
Maybe the signs have already happened. Maybe that already happened. That's the
Yeah. You know. I mean, and that's the thing. I think. I think rather than focusing on those details, like and you will constantly see this. Like, I've seen people. They're like, uh, person XYZ is the Yamani, and then they look at, for instance, oh, his right hand is paralyzed, and supposedly there's some narration about, or the Khurasani, his right hand is paralyzed, and they go into all these little details and then try to, and it's like, okay, well, if that person's Khurasani or not, how does that change your outcome as a person? How does it make you a better person? Rather than focusing on these minutia, focus on the bigger picture. How do I improve myself, right? As a
How
person.
is your path to the cross in the Mahdi?
Yeah.
If you're on the right path, your path to the cross. That's the way Allah works. So
Yeah.
how are you going to fix yourself so your path will cross?
Sure, of course. But I'll make one more
Yeah.
question about in regards to the hadith and so on, and then
Yeah.
So is it safe to conclude, because like you said, some narrations stop occurring after a certain amount, and they don't.
Inshallah. We'll see you alaikum.
And then some narrations they continue throughout all 12 imams, and they are narrated, or the narration of this continues and is seen as never ending until in Hujjah Ajal Faraj.
Yeah.
So is it safe to assume that, because of course al hadith is some hadith are more unreliable than others at some
Yeah.
point, but
Mhm.
hadith is never certain per se.
Yeah.
So is it safe to say that? But is it safe to say that the hadiths that do occur until across several imams rather than ones that stop are more reliable?
Yeah, we can say that at least maybe that sign has more credence to it. It's not maybe as subjected to Bada. Maybe that it transcended that historical climate or that historical circumstance. But I still don't think you can be definitive that this must happen. I think there's still and you'll notice that every imam even will give you potentially different details, right? So if this does really trace back to each imam, remember, because we said that there's one news sudur, right? That we don't actually know, are these narrations truly going back to the imams? Because many of them have problematic chains. They have chains from people that we don't know who they really even are, what we call al-majahil, people, they're completely majhul. You don't know who they were in history, right? They're telling you the imam supposedly said this, right? You're like, well, okay, how can I trust you? Well, you really don't have any, in the 21st century, you have no reason why you should necessarily trust someone who's telling you from over 1,000 years ago that, the imam said this, right? I think it still needs to be contextualized in the sense of looking at the full corpus, looking at the full set of hadith and trying to find out what's the common sort of trend amongst these hadith. What are they all trying to say? And then base your understanding off that. That's much more of a, even though that's still possibly conjectural, right? It still is a conjecture. It could still be wrong, but it's more firm than just relying on a certain one or two. Why are you favoring those narrations, for instance? Every one of those chains has a problem. Why are you going to favor narration X that says, for instance, his name is Uthman ibn Ambasa? Well, what's the reason for that? So I think rather than focusing on those details, focus on the bigger picture, right? Inshallah. صل على محمد وآل محمد